CRO-AM Connections, connecting with Croatian-Americans through conversation and events to share our culture. Today in our show, we have John Mayasich, a two-time U.S. Olympic ice hockey medalist in the 1956 and 60 games, and has represented the U.S. in 5 world championships from Eveleth, Minnesota. Thank you all for joining us today. Dobro nam došli. Today we're having a conversation with John Mayasich, a two-time U.S. Olympic ice hockey medalist in the 1956 and 60 games, and he has represented the U.S. in 5 world championship games, originally from Eveleth, Minnesota, but coming to us today from Chaska, Minnesota. Welcome, John.
Glad to be here.
Thanks, John. Really glad to have you on this podcast. We're super excited to talk to you tonight. So we actually just recently met. I've been saying that a lot. Sky's going to laugh at me. Everybody I met has recently met. But you were inducted into the Croatian-American Sports Hall of Fame recently out in Pittsburgh. But the evening prior, we were all on a bus trip up to visit the CFU home office and to tour their museum. And my wife, Heather, and I were actually on the tour with your family. They were great. I love to meet them. We had a great time walking around with them. And they were excited to see all the Croatian heritage, the pieces in the museum. But what was really fun was when you guys saw some of the banners from Eveleth, Minnesota. You guys stopped and took some pictures, and you talked about that a little bit. And that's really what made our night, is to see that connection with something from the Croatian heritage in Pittsburgh, but relating it back to Eveleth, Minnesota, and where you grew up. And so that was really cool to see with your family at that moment in time. So that's what this podcast is all about. It's making those connections and sharing family history and what people have done in their career. And so we're here tonight to talk about basically in 3 parts, John. The first part is we want to hear about your Croatian roots, your family heritage, where your family came from. And then the second part, we want to get into your ice hockey days and a little bit about your professional career after that. And then just wrap up, you've been inducted into a lot of Hall of Fames, and just a retrospective on the Pittsburgh induction and the Croatian-American Sports Hall of Fame. So if you're good with that, let's dive into where your family's from Croatia.
Well, Ma and Pa, I'm going to refer to them as Ma and Pa, not Frank and Mary. So they were born over in Tovun or Tvon. Probably 10 or 15 miles from Ogulin. So they never knew each other, growing up just, miles apart. But I had the pleasure of taking 10 of us, brothers, sisters, over to Tovun in 1996.
That's awesome.
The Mayessiches and the Polkoviches. So a great experience. And some of the family wanted to go to Vegas. Some wanted to go on a cruise. I said, BS. We're going to Croatia. So,
have you been back since?
No, I haven't. But I was in Slovenia, the capital, years ago. And I was in a world tournament there, the capital. What is that?
Ljubljana. Yeah.
And I had a duffel bag full of clothes. I was going to go down to Croatia. They had a big snowstorm. I never made it. So I said someday I'll make the trip. So we did, and it was a great experience. Okay, now back to Ma and Pa.
Yeah.
The Mayessich family lived in Tvon, and there's still, I bet there's 40 or 50 Mayessiches living there. What we didn't know, there's also a Polkovich family on my mother's side. They live in Tvon. We didn't know that. So we were driving by their residence every day, and we could see these people out there seeing our little bus going by. We didn't know they were my mother's relatives until a few days before we left. So that was a great visit. But I had a banquet for both families on a Saturday night. So what a great experience.
Yeah.
But they came to Eveleth. My father had a brother, Matt, who worked for the mining company. He sponsored my dad or his brother. So Pa went through Ellis Island. I think he had an 8th grade education, became a citizen. My mother never became a citizen or never went to school, never had a diploma.
Wow.
But my mother was a Polkovich. She had a relative in Eveleth that ran a boarding house for all of these single miners. So that's how she came to Eveleth, and of course met Pa at the boarding house. And now there are about 150 Mayessiches in the country.
Did they speak Croatian in the house to you?
There were 12 children born. They all were born at home. Me and my twin brother were the 11th and 12th born. By the time we grew up, they spoke English. My mother spoke very good English. But they used to argue and fight. He'd go down to the KSKJ Lodge. He said he was going to Sunday Mass, and the KSKJ Lodge was across the street. Well, I don't think he ever made it to the church. But he socialized at the lodge, came home, and they fought and argued. Pa made his own wine, and I was thinking how many wine barreled things I saw in the yards in Tvon. Made me think about it, that he never had a vacation. His vacation was that barrel of wine in the basement. So he worked the underground mine, walked to work, probably a mile, in the dark, winter 20 below zero, worked underground in the dark. They had a lantern. And the mining company would put a Croatian with a Finlander, so they couldn't converse. All they could do was work. But it ended up after 20, 30 years, Pa could speak and understand a little Finnish, a little Italian, of course, Slovenian, but that was his life and Ma's life. She never left the house. Made 12 loaves of bread twice a week. Had the 11 children at home. We were poor. Everybody was poor. There were a lot of immigrants, families. But one big item I should talk about, we never had a car. Our garage in Eveleth, now you have to picture this. Our garage was a barn. We had a cow, we had a pig, we had chickens, we had a garden, we had plots outside of Eveleth where we used to walk out and have potato lots all over, maybe 3 or 4 of them. We'd harvest them in the fall, we'd take a wagon, sacks of potatoes. But So I still look back and say, how did we make it with that many, in the family?
Yeah.
But we all did things. We brought quarters and dollars home. I remember serving Mass. We'd get 50 cents for a funeral. And Ma would say, stop at that meat market and get a soup bone and tell them to have a little meat on it. So that tells you how we survived. But we made it. And I look back and I say, where did we all sleep? We all got a good education. One thing about Ma and Pa, they couldn't, we never had a telephone, till I was in the 10th grade. So they couldn't read a report card, and nobody could call them till that, find out how we were doing. But so we struggled. We got a TV set. All my father did was watch wrestling. That was his favorite TV program. Why, I don't know. But I think back and say, God, did I do enough for him and enough for the family? And their life was for their family and the sacrifices they made.
Well, that's the story typically is, the next generation is hopefully better off. And I think that's the typical storyline, right? Yeah.
But, there were a lot of immigrant families that lived the same way. So we were like everybody else. That's changed.
Now, there is I'm just curious about this because you mentioned the KSJ Lodge, but there was also a CFU Lodge in Eveleth, Lodge 94. Were you familiar with that lodge? Was your family?
I don't know. I'm trying to think on that banner. What was the lodge? I know there was a KSKJ.
It may. We'll have to check the records on that with Derek. But I know it's called Holy Family Lodge.
The Holy
94.
Family. Our church was the Holy Family Church, and there was a lodge right across the street from there. So that's where he attended Mass at the lodge. Ma didn't know that till he came home inebriated.
That's probably it then. That's interesting. That's great. All right. That's a big family. Are some of your siblings still around?
There were 12 in the family. In 1918, there was a flu epidemic in the U.S. And we had a sister Rose, a month old, that died from the flu. So there were 11 of us. There are 3 of us left. I've got a brother. I just talked to him this morning. He's 98. Another brother in a senior living, 96. I'll be 92 in May. So 3 of us left.
That is awesome.
I would say that all of us, there was a sister Rose, another Rose, died at 54. She was the only one that smoked, when she was young. She passed away. My twin brother passed away 3 years ago. He was 88. Brother Frank was, I think, 89. The rest were all in their 90s. Sister Mary, 98. Annie, 97. All of us, in their 90s. But,
there's some good genes there,
say
John.
Why? I never went to the hospital. Looking back, I think we went to the store for flour, sugar, probably pepper. What else? So everything we grew, or we had chickens. Again, a pig slaughtered in the fall, a calf. We traded with the grocery store the calf every year for so we could charge other things that we needed. But so everything was homegrown. We didn't eat, Sherry, what do you call it? We didn't have any preserve. No, what's the word?
Like jams or preserves.
So we had
preservatives.
We went out and picked blueberries. A barrel, not a barrel, a metal, bushel type thing, a metal. We'd fill them up with blueberries. So we had quarts of blueberry sauce all winter. Mom made 12 loaves of bread twice a week. All the rich kids would come over and have hot bread from Mom Mayasich. We'd go to their house and eat store bread. And they had peanut butter, and we used to get a spoon and eat peanut butter. We never had peanut butter at all. But so we thought we were poor. Maybe not. But
no,
it was a family. I think it's the love for one another kept all of us going, and wanted things better for our families and the future. But
love and whether you're poor or not is what you make it, right? It's all about the family. And it
never had birthday parties. How the hell you go? Who's going to invite 11 kids to a birthday party? And we couldn't invite anybody. So,
did your mom make a specific cake for your birthdays? Did each get a specific type of cake, or you got all the same cake?
We never got anything for Christmas. The mining company had a movie on Saturday. So we got in the movie, it came out, and they gave us a box of hard Christmas candy. My twin brother and I had a paper route, and we would buy a Chinese checker game or something, So, but we went out and got a Christmas tree. We had lights, but we ate good on holidays, on Sundays. 2 kinds of meat. And one other thing I should mention, but maybe getting into the hockey.
Yeah. Let's start there.
We played street hockey. Nobody had a car. If they did, it was in the garage all winter. So we had the streets, high snowbanks. We would cut goals in the snowbanks. You might have 15, 20 kids, all different ages, high school down to 7 and 8-year-olds, with sticks with their overshoes on, and playing with a sponge ball or a tennis ball. And so that's where we learned the game of hockey. And if you didn't touch the ball all day Saturday, you ended up going out for the basketball team or the swimming team the next week. But the kids that played street hockey, I'm looking at the picture right now. I think you might have one. That none of the kids in the picture playing street hockey had skates or played on the outdoor rink. We could skate right from our house up to the outdoor hockey rink. No boards, no nets, but it was right next to the school. So we had flooded ice every day. And I started out, we had 1 pair of skates in the house. And this I'll never forget. It was a pair of girl skates, not figure skates, but a high boot with no support. And I can still remember skating, and one of the blades would turn inwards. And I said, someday I'm going to know how to skate and play. And I'll never forget it on the outdoor rink. So we had one pair of skates. How did I end up with it? And
I don't know, but they took that one pair of skates pretty far. I mean,
when do you think I got my first new pair of skates?
I don't know. College?
How the hell did you remember? I used used skates. There was a couple of Croatian, a Pribonic that played hockey out in San Diego. And he probably knew that I was doing pretty well as a young kid. So he brought back a pair of used tackleberry skates, or CCMs. Anyway, they were too big. I'd stuffed paper in the toe, and it didn't have any blade left, so I couldn't sharpen them. So I played with those, and
that was in your college days, is when you had those
they were pro skates, but they were too big. But I wore them anyway and stuffed a sock or something in the toe so they'd fit. But we didn't have traveling teams back then or coaches. We had one street playing against another street or another part of town. So we would play. We had a beautiful hippodrome. We still do in Eveleth. It's the third oldest in the United States. Think of that.
Oh, wow.
So we played every Saturday morning. Summit Street against Clay Street. Anyway, for 2 years, they wouldn't let me play in that Saturday morning. They said I was too good. So I was on in the 7th grade, I was on the swimming team. I had a brother 4 years older, Bernard, swam backstroke. So, so I went out to the swimming team, swam in some meets. And so in the 8th grade, I played basketball. I loved basketball. I'd have study halls in school, and I said, I have to go down and get my knee treated, and I'd be shooting baskets for an hour. But I was on the B basketball team in the 8th grade. Think of that. I played baseball 5 years of high school in American Legion. And they had a city team 3 miles away in Virginia. Veterans came home from the war. I pitched for that team. So, I played.
So you were all around sports then, basketball, baseball, even football. You played football.
I played 3 years of football. I played 4 years of hockey. We never lost a game. We won 4 state championships. And I don't want to brag.
Yeah, that's 69 straight games you won, right, John? 69 straight over 4 years, right?
So I'm not bragging, but I have to mention, but scoring records for the state tournament that'll probably never be broken. And so I went to the state in tennis, never had a racket. Somebody let me use it. Here's a story you could check on. So I played all back. We played ping pong as young kids every after school. You have to remember, no telephones, no television. What did you do when you came home? You went down. We had a nice rec building, played ping pong, basketball, played touch football on this big floor. So we had all of that available to us. And there were athletes, good athletes in Eveleth that played all the sports. We played all 3-4 sports. So when it came to hockey our hockey coach never went on the ice. We never had a drill. But those were the good old days. Anyway,
but some some of those high school records still stand that you have,
all of
right?
them do. Yeah, there's probably.
Yeah.
But if a kid's that good, he's not gonna. They're gonna go and play juniors somewhere. But and the competition today, it's a lot different, So, but so anyway, in tennis, so I didn't know how to count, love this and all that crap. So I ended up. I came in second in the district. I played all backhand. It's goofy. In the region, I beat a guy named Sherry, what was from Hibbing. I'll think of his name. Anyway,
okay.
Do you remember what's that?
Sharon Tate.
No, what was the guy's name? Out in California, he had that big gang. The Manson case. The prosecuting attorney for the United States in that case was the guy I beat to go to the state in tennis.
Get out.
What the hell is his name? Oh, God, my daughter's looking it up. In his obituary, he died, I don't know how many years ago. He mentioned in his obituary how he beat the great John Mayasich to go to the state tournament. He didn't say I beat him the year before. But his dad in his senior year sent him to Florida for instructions. But Sherry's looking up his name. But so I also went in track. I never was on the track team, but we high jumped as young kids. And the coach said, I heard you high jump. So I came second in the district. I won the regional and ended up going to the state in high jumping. I don't know. I think I finished third or fourth. So we did all of those things, and
That's amazing.
Bugliosi was the lawyer's name. Look him up.
All right.
Bugliosi. He was the prosecuting attorney for the U.S. in that Manson case.
So you beat him the first year, and then he came back and beat you, and that's what he.
In our junior year, I beat him. He had the white shorts and the racket with the cover and all that stuff. I think I had jeans on. So how does that happen? And while I'm saying that, the kids are on my butt to do a book.
Good.
And
you should.
It would be more about family and stuff than sports, thinking of... And the title would be Why Me, out of all of us. Why me? And I still say it,
Why not? Why not you? Why not you?
Anyway. So, sports.
So,
I spent every after school doing something in whatever sport was popular at the time. But we all did. We had 17 on our street, Summit Street in Eveleth. We had 17 hockey players that got Division I scholarships at colleges and universities around the country. Think of that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Nobody could claim that in any sport, But number one, they're all big families. The Woodnich family had 18 in Eveleth.
Oh, my.
Yeah. How the hell do you remember a name? I don't think my father ever called me John. Yeah, Edemo.
Edemo.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Go work.
But you had a story. You talk about scholarships. You went to Minnesota, the Golden Gophers, to play hockey, but you didn't go on a scholarship.
No,
right?
I went on a football scholarship. They never had hockey scholarships there. So the only way they could get me, I was all set to go to Michigan. all of the kids from Eveleth, good hockey players, went to Michigan, probably 8 of them. And they had scholarships. But they also had to work part-time and stuff for their dorms or whatever. So, but I visited Michigan. It was all set. But I had a girlfriend in Eveleth, and I think I was in the 11th grade. She was 10th grade, so we were going steady. She was going to nursing school in Duluth, so that was one factor probably in my going to the University of Minnesota. Second, they had the same colors, maroon and gold, that the university had, our high school colors. And it was closer to home, where I still had family up in Eveleth, brothers, sisters, ma and pa. But they never saw me play.
You have a lot of, I know some of your records at the collegiate level have been broken, but you had like 7 hat tricks.
Well, at the university, they retired my number. I'm trying to think of what year, 88 or 98? It's the only number they've retired at the university in hockey. So that's kind of makes you feel good.
You're also, you're being modest a little bit. You also introduced a slap shot into collegiate hockey, did you not?
Yeah, that's a good one. One of my best friends growing up in Eveleth, Willard Eichele, went to the University of Michigan. He couldn't play as a freshman, but they played Canadian junior teams. And in the summers in Eveleth, we all went home and we worked in the mines. And I was working with Willard, and he mentioned this one Canadian had a slap shot. And I said, what the hell's that? So he showed me that. So that fall, I went to the U and I started practicing it. And so they say I was the first American to use the slap
you're in the
shot.
books.
And that was a big advantage going overseas where these poor goalies didn't have a face mask. Our goalie at the U didn't have one. I broke his jaw in practice. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I always used white tape, or mostly. That goes back when Ma and Pa used to go to bed at, 7, 8 o'clock. No television. What the hell do you do? So I put my brother Jimmy, twin, in a doorway. And he had an old goalie stick. And I would shoot a tennis ball or a sponge ball at him with the hockey stick with black tape on it. So number one, that lasted one night, the noise. So I rolled up socks from then on. And my good friend of mine, 2 doors down, his mother was a nurse. So we got white tape. So I used white tape. Anyway, that first morning, we had a linoleum floor with black tape marks on it. We had to scrub the damn thing. So that's when I went to white tape. And it was lighter than black, and I liked using it from then on. And you look at the NHL, watch a game, I bet more than half of the players are using white tape. And they always said you don't use white tape because if you have black tape, a puck coming off black tape be tougher for the goalie to follow it. You know what I'm saying? But
same color.
It doesn't seem to affect them anymore. They're using white tape, and we'll have to find out why. But I think it's So I did all of these things. I never had a coach tell me anything. My freshman year at the U, there was a Doc Romness, played center ice. He's from White Bear, Minnesota. Played for Toronto and I think the Blackhawks. But he had little tricks with flipping the puck and passing. He's the only coach that actually, I say, really taught me something, and it really helped my game and playmaking. But I had a good backhand shot, and that was from playing out on the street. I can't describe.
You're a southpaw. You're a southpaw, right?
No, playing hockey with ball on the street, but I'd have to draw it on paper so you'd understand what I'm trying to demonstrate or show you. Why I had a good backhand shot all through high school and college. But anyway, what else do we have?
But you had a left-handed shot, right? You had a left-handed shot, right?
I shot left-handed, and I played ping pong, all backhand. Tennis, all backhand. I didn't have any, but we never had golf clubs, you know. We were so poor. And I look back, when I was at the U, the golf coach, Bolstead, he said, "John, come on out and I'll give you lessons." He said, "You got that slap shot." And I never did it. And I look back and say, why didn't I listen to him? But I still, one of my favorite sports, watching golf and watching how they hit the ball and saying, God, why didn't I do that?
You and me both.
I'm still learning. Yeah.
You and me both. Hey, so how'd you get into the Olympics then? Walk us through that.
Well, at the U, I was in the ROTC, Reserve Officers Training Corps. Went to class twice a week. We had drills. So I did that for 4 years. So when I got out of school, 1955, that fall, so I got a commission, second lieutenant. I immediately started, John Mayasich was our college coach for 3 years. Played for the Blackhawks and played defense and kind of a tough, rough guy. So my last collegiate game, they claimed that he had a contract for me with the Blackhawks, but I never saw it. And he was the Olympic coach that coming winter for the U.S. 56 Olympic team, Cortina, Italy. So I never saw it. So I was in the service for 2 years. And there, of course, playing in 56 while I was in the service. And then the following, so I was in for 2 years. So the 2 winters, I played hockey, but I was in the service, so getting paid, but getting that obligation out of the way. I might mention, too, here that the 6 boys in our family all served in the service. So there was a Botnic, nice. I think they were Serbian. A family in Eveleth had 8 boys that served. It seemed like all the poor kids, the rich went to college.
But there was a picture when you were in the 56, you guys won the silver. Let's not forget mentioning that. You won. Yeah. But there was a picture of you guys walking through a town in Croatia.
Yeah, that's Cortina. That's where the games were held. With the white, beautiful white parade jackets. I still have it. But our coach was from Eveleth. Think of this. Our coach was from Eveleth. We beat Canada 4-1 or 4-2. Johnny Mayasich, the kid I idolized in high school, he went to Michigan. We scored the 4 goals. Our goalie was Eveleth from Eveleth, the goalie of the tournament, the top goalie in the tournament, and the coach. 4 of us from Eveleth, that little town of Eveleth. So we beat Canada. Not the 4 of us, but
the team.
So,
but that was for the gold in 1960.
No, in 56 we won the silver. We lost to Russia.
Right, in 56. Yeah,
60 we won the gold. Yeah.
And that was the first gold ever in U.S. hockey, correct?
Yeah. I was playing in Green Bay at the time, and the Olympic team came through Green Bay for an exhibition game. And our team beat them, I don't know, 5-2 and Jack Riley, the coach, said, John, we'd like to have you. Back then, I was playing defense. I moved back to defense. So he said, we'd like to have you join the team. And I said, I can't until our season is over. So I remember playing in Rochester, Minnesota on a Sunday. After the game, packed up my equipment. They drove me up to Minneapolis, flew out to Squaw Valley. That next day, we started playing. Think of that. Never practiced with the team. Played defense. And yeah, how does that happen? So
and you guys
they were hoping we'd win a bronze. And here we won every game. In 80, and they don't mention this, in 80, they tied Sweden. I was there. I went out for the game. They tied Sweden. And they never played Canada. We played every team in 60. They didn't have the bracket thing. The top 8 teams played one another, you know. In 80, they had the bracket, so the U.S. never played Canada. But, you know, it's an amazing win, God. So
there's a documentary. There's a documentary out there, and I'm going to try to find it and watch it by Northland Films called "The Forgotten Miracle."
Is that our game Canada. Or our game maybe in 60? Yeah.
Yep, in 1960, it's about you're the first miracle on ice, the forgotten one. So
but after the game, we they had the captains outside, went up and got the medals. We went into a little office area. They handed us our medals, and we went to the airport and went home. I went to work that next Monday morning. Starting in LA at the next Olympics, each gold medal winner is going to get $50,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So we got $20 a week spending money.
Oh, my.
But we got a gold medal. That's worth quite a bit today.
Yeah, it is. It is. So after your hockey career, you went into a little bit of the broadcasting world, right?
Well, I was at TU. I was my room had 2 bedrooms. I think the roommate I had went up to Duluth, and one of the players on the team, Stan Hubbard, they own the TV and radio station in Minneapolis. Mr. Hubbard, the dad, I think 1928, the first radio station in Minneapolis, in that area. And I think the first TV station later on. So his son roomed with me. His parents would go to Florida. So he roomed with me one winter. And he was on the hockey team, didn't play much. But I roomed with him on trips. And so when I got out of the service, I think we had 3 children then. And I was probably going to end up teaching and coaching. And he said, John, do you want to come over to the TV and radio and learn the business? So I did that, worked with them for a couple years, and then went to Green Bay. I was selling TV advertising, playing, and then full-time with the hockey program, where I recruited, coached, sold advertising, all of that. So then Hubbard, maybe after 10 years, Hubbard asked me to come back. And the FM was just starting then. So I got involved with the radio and became president of the radio division later on. Still a good friend of his. I just came back from Florida. I visited this place down in Ocean Reef, Florida for 5 days, going on a cruise in January to the Bahamas with them. So I had that relationship, business opportunity. So never played pro. Thank God.
You always have to wonder what, if you were, right? If you did had that opportunity. You had the talent. You obviously had the talent. Right?
Pardon?
You obviously had the talent to play in the pros, and just
you have to remember back then there were only 6 NHL teams. All Canadian. They weren't paying that much.
Yeah.
I was in Green Bay. You'd be interested. I was in for 10 years when the Packers with Lombardi and Horning, and you wouldn't know, maybe you would. So I lived right by the stadium and had a good relationship with the Packers and the players and families. That was a great deal. Nice deal.
Oh, good time. Well, you had a great career on and off the ice, and you've been inducted, like I said, into a number of Hall of Fames: U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in '76, Wisconsin Hockey Hall of Fame in '89. Yeah, as you mentioned, your number 8 was retired
at the banquet. Yeah, I mentioned the High School Hall of Fame, and I didn't explain that properly. They had a national High School Hall of Fame, and the ceremony was in Vegas. So Arnold Palmer and Johnny Bench were in the same group as I was, being in.
Oh, wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
And talking to Palmer and watching him, and he was talking about getting a branch with the curve, and they'd play hockey on these streams or little lakes and ponds. So it's the people I met. We were the first athletic team to go into Russia, in Moscow, 1957 or 8. Yeah. Czechoslovakia.
Really?
We went into Germany before they had the wall. Think of that. We went from Poland into Germany, and they had German guards with these machine guns. And so I look back at that, and I forget I'm going on 92, so a lot's happened.
You've seen a lot of your lifetime.
Traveling all over the world.
Yeah. You've seen a lot and experienced a lot that most people won't in their lifetime. I mean, it's amazing.
I've been to Hong Kong and Tokyo, and Hawaii a few times. So I've, and the family has benefited too from the connections. All I do is watch the stock market now.
Don't do that.
No, it's been good so far.
True. Well, John, I really want to thank you for sharing those stories with us this evening. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be able to have this hour with you to talk to you about your storied career and everything you've done in it. And truly, truly appreciate this time with you.
You know, the family keeps talking about Pittsburgh and the fun we all had. And I couldn't believe the building with all of the culture and the pictures and the uniforms, and saying, you know, looking at Ma and Pa and saying, boy, look what it is all over the country. How many lodges are there throughout the country?
They're close to 200. There was a lot more back in the day, but I think they're around 200 now, 200, 300, something like that.
Lodges. Amazing.
Yeah. Derek would know better.
So there are a lot of Croatians. And I think of Belichick, you know, the coach at he's Croatian.
He is.
And then, the Alabama coach.
Saban, Nick Saban.
Croatian. So, they're my favorites, too.
We'll have to get you guys back to Pittsburgh.
But I'm sure they'll be in the Hall of Fame there. And if I'm around, I'll come out. I'd like to meet.
You'll definitely be around. We definitely have to get you there.
Well, thank you guys again. What a trip. And I said, I've been all over. I don't think we ever, and having family, 4 of the 5 kids, and what they experienced, and the music and the food and the wine. And, oh, God. And just meeting all of these people. There was this one person from Ogoland I met, and I'm trying to think of what his position within the fraternal, you know.
Oh, it may have been
a short guy. Yeah.
Derek Hahn. Yeah, he's the director of fraternal.
Maybe Franco. Sherry said Frank. He was kind of a nice-looking guy, nice suit, small, kind of.
Oh, yeah. I think I forget his title.
But I think he was from Ogoland, so that's right where Lon Power, you know, born.
Yep.
So
there's a lot in the Pittsburgh area from Ogoland.
Boy.
Yeah.
Well,
hopefully we'll get out to see you one day in Eveleth, and get to see Minnesota a little bit too. That's part of this. We want to travel and see these clubs in these areas as well.
I'll take you to Pa's favorite club.
We're going to take you up on that, John.
His church. I can't remember the name of this church.
It might be our famous church too.
Good. Well, thank you guys, and it's been fun.
Thank you.
Been fun.
It's been fun here. I'm going to wrap up. So we're just going to wrap up another episode. We want to say thank you. Put a follow to all of our CRO-AM followers for tuning in, and the Filthy 46 Productions for their editing and production expertise. Great. So until next time, živeli Hrvati, veliki poz I Bog. Lako noć, John. Catch our next episode where we sit down for a conversation with Frank Sinkwich III and Todd Leckie to share stories about their grandfather, Frank Sinkwich, a great football player in both the collegiate and professional levels from Athens, Georgia. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and other podcast platforms, along with watching us on our YouTube channel or following us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks and appreciation to John Mayasich for being our guest, Dan and Sherry for coordinating this interview, Filthy 46 Productions, and as always, our CRO-AM followers.
Follow.